Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. It's the Audrey Wiggins Show.
One of the most fundamental parts of doing business on the web is keeping your customers' information safe. Fear of hacking and other security breaches still makes a lot of people jittery about disclosing their credit card numbers and other private information online, like their home address and telephone number. And if they suspect that it could be compromised when they make a transaction on your site, they're going to take their business elsewhere. That's why you need an SSL certificate for your website.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I'm Audrey Wiggins, and welcome to my show. Tonight we have an eclectic group together here of people in my network. We wanted to come by and talk about some current events, things that are going on, across society. In our world. Actually, it started nationally, but it's going out globally. When we talk about health, education, police brutality, racism against African Americans, and and those types of things, but also not just that those bad things are happening, but also what can we do as individuals to make a difference in the lives of those in our in our backyard, so to speak, or our community, that can reach the greater community, and span on out and make a difference, so some real change comes about. So one thing, of course, getting that vote out, going to vote, talking to legislatures, protesting, that's important. We have to do that, but also, what skill sets, what are our talents that we bring to the table as individuals. So I want to start off with you, Jerome, because let's introduce yourself. We have Jerome Brown here. He's an entrepreneur. He works with independent film producers and supports that community. We have Yvonka Hall. She's an advocate for health disparities as well as feeding children. This came about something recent, this pivoting, our skills and talents, what we can do, when the situation changes like COVID-19. Okay, I can't do all of this, but what can I do? And we have Twon Billings. He's an entrepreneur. He's a crime fighter. He's been on the other side of the law. Now he's on this side of the law. And he's been helping women and giving back to the community and being an advocate. So we're all here bringing our solutions, to the table. Okay, so go ahead, Jerome. Let's start with you.
Yes. What would you like to know? Like to start with first.
Okay, just whatever's on your heart. Yeah, let's pick it up maybe with education.
Education. I think education and basically in Cleveland, it seems to be lacking a great deal as far as with the schools and so forth that's going on. I don't know all the ins and outs on educational, what the students are doing, what the teachers are doing, what the community is doing, or so forth. I'm going by what I'm hearing from other people, the news, the media, and so on. Mm-hmm. But for what I'm hearing and for what I'm reading, that's always been a problem with the education, with the students, and with the kids, and with the teachers, and so forth. Mm-hmm. And I personally don't see the light at the end of the tunnel yet, because there's so much grounds to be covered. You got to get the kids together, get the students, the teachers together. The programs got to be put together. We got so many schools need tools and materials together. So the education for students I think is going to get there, mm-hmm. in my opinion. But I think you need people who make those decisions, make things happen. They're just not picking up the pace quick enough for these students, in my opinion.
Oh, okay. All right. What do you say to that, Yvonka?
I don't know if you want to hear what I gotta say.
Hey, this is the open forum. Go for it. We might disagree. I don't care if we disagree.
So I'm Yvonka Hall. I'm the executive director of the Northeast Ohio Black Health Coalition. The coalition is the first coalition in the state of Ohio to focus exclusively on African American disparities in education, employment, housing, and health by working to educate, advocate for, and empower the community. And so a few of the things that are currently going on with our educational system, and I wouldn't say that our educational system has always failed us, because I'm a product of the Cleveland Municipal School District. And I'm actually an alumni of John Marshall, and I was inducted into the Alumni Hall of Fame last October for my work that I've been doing over these last 26 years. I'm the first African-American woman to be inducted into our Hall of Fame. And so, you know, we have children who have hunger issues, particularly now. We have a school system that has 39, almost 40,000 students. And right now, during COVID, our school district has fed less than 1,000 students a week. And so what happens to the other 38, 39,000 students?
Right.
You know, what are they eating? And how can you expect someone to excel in education if they're hungry? And so we know that we have a problem around food insecurity in our community. And COVID has basically shined a light on the fact that we have all of these disparities that are going on within our systems, particularly our school systems. You know, when COVID hit, suburban school districts were able to continue their educational process with their students. All of their students had tablets. They didn't have to figure out who had Wi-Fi, who had a hotspot, you know, and in Cleveland, we had, you know, instructors that were telling parents, well, if you drive to your neighborhood McDonald's, you can use their Wi-Fi.
No.
Okay, so you're assuming that everybody has a car. So you're assuming that everybody has a car and that there is a McDonald's around every corner.
With Wi-Fi.
Children have a tablet. And, you know, and so we have some serious problems within our system. We have a system that is not technology based for our students. We live in a technology century. Like we are in the world Wide Web, and we have students who do not have access. Correct. So we have, until we can feed our students and make sure that they have the proper things in order for them to grow up in the World Wide Web, in order for them to participate as a consumer like other suburban districts, unless we get that right, we have totally failed our children.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes.
Wouldn't that apply to the taxes that the residents are putting into the educational? So, like for instance, some upper scale neighborhoods are dishing out more tax money to take care of these needs, as to City B, who don't have the revenues coming in to take care of the necessary. And I will agree with you about the education, about the tools, the laptops, the Wi-Fi's, and all that sort of stuff. Because I've met some students who don't have laptops, don't have tablets, don't have internet, and don't have Wi-Fi, and they're pretty much left in the dark because the school technology is going forward, but the kids can't go forward because they don't have those necessary tools.
Right. And the schools have it, Jerome. The schools have the dollars. But what happens is when you become top heavy and the children are on the bottom, then you're paying all of your money out to people's salaries. You got all of these, the principal of this that needs an assistant principal of this. You got a principal of this part of the school or the principal of that part. Well, all these people have to get paid. So the more you start having all of these different administrative titles, you have so many security guards, so many police officers that you don't need. Like you need to put social services back in schools and take these security personnel out. And so we have all of this personnel that we're paying for in these schools. And if we use those dollars and stop wasting money, like we have schools literally that they torn down, that they put in new windows, put in new steps, put in new doors, and then tore it down. You put in hundreds of thousands of dollars into Hamilton before it was torn down, into Mount Pleasant that was just torn down a few weeks ago. They put money into Audubon and then closed it. You know, they put money into schools that they know they're going to tear down.
Right, exactly.
And so you have to look at it and say, okay, well, I know the money was geared toward whatever. If they said, oh, you need to put windows on it, but what you have to do is go back to your funders and say, okay, we don't need windows on these buildings because we're looking to take these buildings down. But what we do need is we need you to put this money into the pot in order for our children to have technology.
Absolutely. Let's bring Twon in this conversation.
Oh, Twon.
Hey, how you doing? I think that you know, Yvonka is right about the fact that they put so much money into, you know, these schools and then tearing them down. I think that serves a disservice, you know, for all the things that we have going on in our communities out here. That, you know, we can, you know, like right now, you know, come up with ideas of what to do with those buildings and all the things that you can do when it comes to educating our people. One of the key things, though, you know, my concern is about learning disabilities. A lot of our children is going through learning disability issues, and I don't think that we cover a lot when it comes to that, you know, when it comes to the school board meetings and things like that, the mental health factors of what a lot of our young people is going through. And as a result of that, the allotted money is not addressing many of those issues when it comes to students that's going through mental health issues, depression, learning disabilities issues. And as a result of that, you have a lot of children that drop out, you know, because they are going through so many issues that's not being addressed. And I'm sure that, you know, more or less, Yvonka can more or less talk more about that. But personally, as me being in those elements, you know, being a learning disability student, being a child that went through physical and sexual abuse as a child and a lot of violence, I can relate a lot to what these today children is going through. Back when I was coming up, it was kind of like taboo not to talk about stuff like that.
Right.
You know, and today's children is going through so much, you know, that they have to be the young man of the house, or they have to go out there and get themselves, you know, to the streets in order for them to survive.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a powerful piece right there, adding in that element. And sad but good to say, what I've seen at, you know, after higher ed, money has gone into technology, you know, getting students iPads or laptops, making sure that they have Wi-Fi, you know, in their home. So I wonder, like, where is that disconnect that, you know, an organization, a company will put money into, you know, higher education, which is important. That's the next level if that's, you know, where the students want to go. But before they get there, they have to, you know, be able to succeed where they are. So when you guys talk about, you know, they're hungry, you know, there's, you know, if there's, you know, becoming home with COVID-19, so everything is online and they don't have the tools that they need to succeed. So it's like already, you know, automatically just set up, you know, for failure. So, you know, I would like to see some of those corporations, you know, reverse some of that money that you're putting into higher ed, not to take it all away, but, you know, is there a group, you know, okay, we'll put into higher ed and this group will put into, you know, your K through 12. Like, what can we do, you know, at that level? And then, go ahead, Yvonka.
You know what, I think that part of that is, and Twon, you know, it's important that we do talk about mental health. I did talk about it before you got on the phone. I did
started actually, yeah.
I did talk about it. And so I do understand that we have a lot of children who are hustling. Like, we got a lot of young boys who are out here hustling, trying to make money in order for them to feed their brothers and sisters at home. Like, they're trying to do a hustle to feed their brothers and sisters. And so our disconnects are many. So one of them is around this higher education thing. So remember that the Cleveland Municipal School District is only graduating a third of the students, all right? So that means that 66% of the kids are not in any school systems. Like, once they get past, once they're supposed to go into 9th grade, they're not going into any grade. So a lot of them are hanging out. And so we have to make sure that we are first acknowledging that we have young people in the schools and that they learn different, that they process things different. And we need to make sure that we get some Black educators in these classrooms. We need some Black men in the classroom. We need some Black teachers. We need some Black women in the classrooms. Most of our students are being taught by white women, and white women have a problem trying to teach Black men because they cannot teach them. And so when you have white women who are controlling classrooms and you have young Black boys in the classroom that need to grow, that need to experiment, that talk a different way, that say a different things that are different, that don't sound like you, don't talk like you, don't dress like you, but you're trying to teach them, but you're scared of them. then you're going to constantly call security. You're going to constantly call the police. We got police sitting outside of schools waiting to arrest our children. Like, you know, I'm a big advocate around police reform. Like, when we talk about defund the police, I'm like, get the police out of schools and put some social workers back in schools. And I don't mean just any social workers. I mean, get some Black folks into these schools that can actually help children because they can understand the things that children are going to. You know, one of the things that we do know in social work is that when you identify with a community, you're more willing to help them get the resources that they need. And so I think that COVID-19 we've talked about racism, so we have to talk about racism and how racism has impacted our educational systems in this country.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Twon, you want to add back to that?
Well, I think that, you know, the fact is dealing with the fact that these young people is, you know, like she said, is, you know, manning up the house, you know, the young ladies, you know, the stress that they go through of, you know, sexual assaults and things like that, you know, and then here they go through, you know, the school where they're going through a war zone in order to get there. The educational factor to me, and I do say, you know, to me, I just feel like mentally it's hard for a child to really comprehend with a lot of stuff that's going on around in our society, where you have a lot of fear and a lot of things that's going on in the home. And then, you know, when you go and, you know, you go to class and you feel like the person don't care about the things that you need. You know, just like she spoke on about the teachers not, you know, being able to be culturally understanding about what, you know, the child may be going through, you know, because they haven't experienced the trauma that a lot of our young people is experiencing or going through to today. You know, waking up to gunshots, waking up to the uncle abusing them, you know, all sorts of different elements that plays in with the child's cycle, you know what I'm saying? And I think that, you know, a lot of our children is very smart today, being able to work these computers and work these phones. It don't take them long to learn. I just think that, you know, like I said, for me, it's just, you know, when we talking about the things that plays in when it comes to education, I know personally of what I experienced. And when I talk to a lot of these young people and everything, and I see a lot of the fear that they have when they go into school and everything, you know, people trying to shoot and kill them because they coming from a different neighborhood, or, you know, their uncle was murdered, or, you know, I mean, it's like they don't think that they're going to be alive long enough to think about college or think about the military or anything like that. So,
you know, for me, I'm here to tell them different. Like when I was 6 years, so I was one of those students. Times were different. I had, you know, African-American educators in my schools, but my mom was murdered in front of myself and my younger brothers when I was 6.
Oh, wow.
In the following year, my uncle's best friend, a young man who I admired, who I thought he was the finest. I mean, I was 7 years old, like, oh my God, I think he's just so handsome, was murdered by the police. Shot him in the back on 117th and Kinsman. That same year, my uncle was murdered by the police. And so we have young people. So I'm looking at, and I don't look at it and say, well, look at me, because I can't say that I came out unscathed, you know, because I raise hell, because for me, if I don't speak up for my community, nobody else is going to speak up for me. So I'm excommunicated from a whole bunch of stuff because people are like, oh, she's going to come in the room and tell us what we're not doing. And it's like, yeah, if that's what you need, then that's what you need. And I think that a lot of times what happens is when we have people who can tell us the things that are going on in the community, we have the political establishment that says, no, you know, we only want to hear stuff from political leaders. Well, a lot of our leaders aren't speaking our tune, because if they were, they would be tuned into the fact that the streets are crying, and they've been crying for help for a long time. And so I understand that we have to have a downtown infrastructure, but how many millions and millions and billions of dollars do we give to downtown before we start looking at the issues that are going on uptown?
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get in on some of this. You know, we almost got into the criminology, you know, part of our conversation. If we can, you know, go there a little bit. You know, you talking about you didn't come out unscathed. You know, even me, you know, my brother was 18 and he is now, what is he, 64 or 65 years old, you know, and he was, you know, brutalized by the police. You know, fortunately he didn't die, but, you know, there was never any justice for that. And I was 15 years old, you know, when that happened. And it's just like, you never forget. And just like, you know, now that doesn't, you know, compare to, you know, the family of George Floyd or Rayshard Brown or Breonna Taylor and, you know, some of our other, you know, our young folks that have, you know, Tamir Rice that have died, you know, at the hands of the police or anyone else, you know, just having their life snuffed out. But you never forget. And so every time another one happens, you remember. So you keep remembering. So you relive whatever your experience is, even your mother, you know, you remember that all over again, you know, so they keep carrying this, you know, this burden, and, you know, year after year. And it just, you know, it mounds up like a volcano. And before you know it exploded. And that's what's happened, you know, now with all these protests. I don't agree with looting and burning down places, you know, the rioting, you know, behavior. But this is what happens. And it all stems from some of the things we've already talked about, being hungry. Okay, you know, broken homes, maybe some broken homes, you know, are fine, but, you know, that still has a mental, you know, effect on a young person. So all of that, you know, bad education, raggedy books, you know, raggedy buildings, you know, why we have to have those things. And, you know, so you're talking about, you know, equal access to justice. What about equal access to education, you know, and equal access to, you know, good materials? And let's rewrite those doggone history books with, you know, put some more truth up in them. Yvonka, I saw you put your mic on.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with I don't have a problem with rioting. Like, I think, you know, riots have to happen in order for things to change. Like, I think that sometimes you got to do like Jesus went and changed and turned over the tables in the change room. Like, and so I think that our kids, you know, I'm like, thank you, Jesus, that they had the gumption that the religious leaders didn't have when the 137 shots happened. When Tamir Rice and Tanisha Anderson happened. Like, if our kids are willing to raise some hell, then I'm going to show them the strategies that they need in order for them to do it right. Now, what happened downtown? What happened? The police, you have an African-American mayor, you have an African-American police chief who both sat in their war room and agreed to shoot rubber bullets and tear gas at peaceful demonstrators. No. They caused all that stuff downtown. Mm-hmm. Like, what happened downtown is a direct result of the leadership downtown. Mm-hmm. So I have no problem with people flipping over a few tables.
All right. Go ahead.
Well, that's how things got started from the beginning, when people got upset. People just getting tired of it. Yeah. It's been going on since, you know, since beginning of time, history. That's just how things was dealt with at that time. So I don't understand why people today are now seeing, oh, we've never seen this before. This is all new to us. No, right. This is nothing new. This has been going on since beginning of time, since beginning of history. It's just not catching up to you. I can go back as far back that I can remember with the Rodney King situation. That everybody had this is before cell phones is what it is now. But everybody, those who had cell phones, had their cell phones out, videotaped the whole beatdown of Rodney King. Cops close up and everything. I mean, I don't think there was not a cop there was not taking a whack at him. But for some oddly reason, we all know the reason, but for some oddly reason, they all walked away, had some type of reason why they had to hit him. Fear for their life situation, he resisted arrest, and the list goes on. And I think going that far back up to what we got now and all the things that happened in between over the years, the shooting, the beating, and end up dead in the police cell. They hung themselves, and the list goes on, which I don't never believe no one hung themselves in a police cell, but that's besides the point. I think people are just getting tired. And with this Corona-19, it's actually making people stay home and see on television what's going on in the real world. Now, without this coronavirus, I bet you the majority of the people in the world would not have seen or heard what's going on, although it's been on the media. But these are the people who don't get a chance to see what's going on. They're off from work, they're not going out, they're scared of this, they're scared of that, which is fully understandable. But with the Corona-19 virus going on, shutting everything down, forcing people to see what's going on in your own backyard and what's going on in the world. That's why we're getting so many people protesting, Black, white, Asian, Chinese, Puerto Rican, the list goes on that too. And I believe that's why people are protesting, because with the cop putting his knee on the back of the George Floyd's neck, throat, that itself was disturbing to watch. And without the video footage, I hate to say it, but he probably would have walked. Probably would have walked and came up with some bogus thing they wrote off, and that would have been the end of it. Yep. So, but they tried to find everything to make this guy look guilty. He had a police record. He was on drugs. He had a bad heart, and the list goes on. But they couldn't find nothing. They couldn't find not one thing decent enough to get them to walk off this. And that's why these guys are in jail now. Yeah.
Well, what they did find was that they have a history of corruption in their police department. That one of his drug sentences from a few years ago is actually in question now, because that police officer actually was arresting people and giving them drug charges and trumping up charges on people who were not selling drugs. Yeah. He went to jail for a $10 bag of drugs that they said that he didn't even do at all. Like they actually are bringing up this police person, I think he's retired now, who he sent all these African-American men to jail during that same time, and they all was for the same thing, for this $10 bag of crack.
Yeah.
That's why we need to have those laws rewritten, so the amount that
laws can't rewrite racism. Laws can't rewrite racism.
No. I get that.
When you have police, like the police are here because of slavery. Slave codes are why we have policing. And so what is
tell that whole piece, Yvonka, of how the police got the police departments were actually established, and you started to hit on it right there, the slavery.
So they deputized white men in order for them to go after Black people. And so what they started doing was arresting them for minor crimes, like, oh, you're loitering because you're standing there. Okay, well, we're going to send you to jail. And so basically what happened was you saw the slavery system go into this system of putting you in jail, working for these people for free. So you would do all these different things as an inmate for free in the South. And basically it was a servitude. Like they had you forever. And a lot of people died in those rock mines, doing those chain gangs. Mm-hmm. There were so many people who were disproportionately impacted, and a lot of young African Americans, they went in and they died. And so when their families went to inquire about them, they're gone. I remember Miss Vaughn, who was my neighbor growing up. She lived beside me. She would have been 100 and some years old. And I remember being in 9th grade, and I was on the honor roll, and the honor society was going on a trip to Florida, to Disney World. And when I told her I was going to Florida, she said, why would anybody take kids there on a trip? She was absolutely pissed that the school system would take us to Florida. And so me, being the inquisitive 9th grader, said, hey, tell me the story. And she said, I grew up in Kissimmee, Florida. And she said, all of that area where Disney World is was all Black. And what happened was they took all the land from the Black people in order for them to build Disney. She said, so what happened is when you had sons who were working on your farms, your sons were your young farm help. So what they did was your sons started coming up missing. So she said every day a Black boy would come up missing. You would look around and the parents would go and report, like, my son is missing. And the sheriff would say, oh, they probably left and went to the town. And so what happened was with the murder of Cheney, Goodwin, and Swertzer, with their murders, they dredged the swamps in Florida. And when they dredged those swamps, they found all those skulls of all those Black boys that had been missing. And she talked about how they would hang Black boys and then drive their bodies through the street in order for the whole town to see what was going on. So she said, we escaped here to come to Cleveland. So I can't imagine anybody sending their kids to Florida on vacation. And so our policing system was part of that system that was participating in those lynchings of young African-American men, women, and children.
Yes. Twon, let's wrap it up. Yeah.
That's something they don't teach you in history, is it?
No.
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 It's a shame because I think that's very informal and very educational to at least know how things got started and how we went from then to now.
Yeah.
Just by hearing that story for the first time, I can actually see that happening. I can actually vision that, and I can actually not even wonder if that did ever happen. I can actually see and know that from what you just telling me that story, that is definitely something that could have happened, and I can actually relate to that story because it sounds like something that I've heard something similar of that nature, where back in London, where cops will walk the streets to find black men to help out in the work the courtyard, to clean these butlers and servers and so forth, clean the horse stables and all that kind of stuff for those upper people who probably needed it and didn't want to pay for it. So I remember hearing that kind of story once upon a time ago. But your story is definitely a very disturbing story that makes you stop and think and shake your head. How can people even treat other people like that? But
right. And
not too much change. Not too much change over the years.
Exactly. And that's why they don't want all this racism and all this discrimination conversation. They really don't want us to have this, because these are the kinds of things that are being uncovered, things that we have never heard of, or things that maybe we heard about as a young adult, like, Black Wall Street. I found out about that. I must have been in my 30s or something, as far as I remember. So that's kind of old to, to have found out about that information. But all of those things that we could have, before they, raped that, and burnt it all down and murdered the folks, was something to be, proud of. But that should have been part of, the regular history. But I don't want to take up too much more time. I think Twon unmuted himself. So go ahead, Twon.
Well, I just look at it that, with all that is being said, the bottom line is we their food. People survive off of Black ignorance, and they keep us oppressed. So we want you to have the tools that we need in order to be independent. And anytime that you have the same people that's empowered to help you stay enslaved, the people that we look to as leaders is really not leaders. They help keep us mentally down. And pretty much that's how they keep control over us. I think that when you look at it, with law enforcement, as a person that led on one side of the fence, being a bad guy, to going over to being a law enforcement trainer, I had the pleasure, as I discussed with you before, of looking through the lens of a law enforcement officer to a certain extent. And I would say that a lot of things that I have witnessed and seen, and when it comes to both sides and the things that I was perpetrating out on the streets, we have a lot of things, just like the brother said, it's so many elements that we have to work on in order to get, any type of understanding. And when you're talking about the system, okay, like for instance, all the protesting, there's no Black agenda. There's no really, it's just people running around and doing loose things. There's not anyone that I have seen or heard that said, hey, okay, what everybody is doing, fine. Where's the plan? What's next? Do we have a blueprint on the people that we target? Is we going to wait to September when we go after 45? 45 is not just the only person you have to go after. You have to have a plan. And anybody, like I always say, a man without a plan could be used by a man with a plan. Anything you do in life, you have to have a plan. You just don't go out and just yell, scream. And you remember the big bad wolf. The big bad wolf said, I'm a huff and I'm pluffing and blow. He blowed the straw house down. He blowed the wooden house down, but he never blowed the brick building down. And this is the reason why if you're going to go into art and war, you have to have a plan. And you have to have something that makes all the sense in the world. It's not to a point that we cannot change the system. It's just to the point where we have to have that leadership that says, okay, with that army that went down to the Justice Center, instead of going down there to that Justice Center hollering and screaming at those people, they should have went the other way to the Board of Elections with a plan, getting all those people registered, finding some key people to go after and start getting those people up out of those seats. And then finding your own elected official, as what Malcolm, as what many of our leaders back in the past kept telling us, what they need to do. We already have the blueprint. It's just not, we just not exercising it. And the thing about it is that when it comes to this thing about police, like the brother said, you know, I've been seeing a lot of videos and it's bothering me. I'm not gonna lie, it's starting to really bother me real deeply. You know what I'm saying? But what's really killing me the most is the black on black crime. Because how do we sit up there and tell somebody not to smoke weed and we smoke dope? You know, Pookie Duke bullet ain't no different than the cop's bullet. If you got the 137 shots, like when that incident happened, I say probably about 2 or 3 weeks after the 137 shots, some guy unloaded on a young man 40 something times with an AK-47. You know, we just had a baby that just got shot in the head. You know what I'm saying? Out there playing. And they're shot, you know, and then, you know, when you talking about black on black crime, look at this type of foolishness. You know, black folks gotta stop doing wrong to each other. They gotta understand how to work together because they understand the science with us. They know what to do. If they come and they drop in our community a whole shitload of AK-47s, AR-15s, drugs, they know it's gonna cause a war in the community. If you pay attention, every AG that come in office, the first thing he do, he drop $1 million to arrest and charge people in the community. The more arrest and charge, you're breeding criminals, right? So you making people unemployable by keep giving them criminal records. So when is enough is enough? When in the law where it says that your plea bargain is punishable by life? Nobody never challenged that. You see what I'm saying? Lawyers sacrifice their clients. They'll sacrifice you. They'll say, hey, Paul, let me get this case. I'll let you get the murder case because we're plentiful in the system. We play along in the system. If you go into any juvenile, the adult, when you look at it, we are their food. That's all you see mostly is black folks in that system. You see what I'm saying? So that all being said, that's the reason why I say the things I say about the system.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, this has been a powerful conversation, and I don't know if we want to have any last words so we can wrap this up, and we'll definitely have to come back, you know, again, and, you know, and what are, you know, what is it that you want to do, you know, the level where you are, like right now today, that you can do, even if it's something you're already doing, you know, share that, and, you know, so we can be able to, you know, influence or inspire somebody else, you know, to make, you know, that systemic change starting like where we're sitting, you know, right now today.
So I do want to say something to Twon, and I think it's one of the things is that we keep using the phrase black on black crime, but white on white crime is higher, exceptionally higher, because there are more white people. So black on black crime is a term that was created by the media to make it look like black people do more violence, and that is not the case. And the reason that it looks like it is because, you know, it's happening in our neighborhoods, but white people do as much violence as black people. And so, but you never hear them talking about white on white. Like for us to only make up 12% of the population, we're not killing all the people in the population. So white people are being killed by white people. And so that is a myth. And I think that that's one of the things that we definitely need to stop saying. The other thing is, poverty drives a lot of the things that are going on in our community. And if we actually address the racism and poverty issue and the policing issue, so that we won't have programs that AADs bring, like Operation Relentless Pursuit, which is the pursuit of young African-American boys, which is the new their new call to action under the Trump administration. So the Trump has put millions of dollars into this Operation Relentless Pursuit. And I have been fighting Operation Relentless Pursuit. And I'm one of the few black voices at the table saying, oh, no, I don't think so.
Where can we go find out more information about that?
Okay. And I also belong to a number of organizations across the country around defunding the police. And there is a plan. There was a strategic plan when the people were out doing the protesting. Like there is a plan. There is a 10-point plan that has been used, has been put in place. But I think that what has happened is the media won't publish the plan, but the media will talk about rioting. And so I think that a lot of times what happens is we need to understand that that we need to work on making sure that our community is as informed as they possibly can be. Like putting a mural in the street is not going to change the death that goes on in those communities. Putting a job on the street is going to change those communities. So being able to educate our folks, giving them employment opportunities, making sure that they're able to address health issues, and that they have adequate housing will change our communities for years to come. And so for me, that is what is important to the Northeast Ohio Black Health Coalition. And our piece, besides the police reform pieces that we're working on, is around lead poisoning, the food program that I have right now, well, focusing on food insecurity, particularly in children that are disabled. And for me, those are the pieces that are important and that are the game changers for my community.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Yvonka. Jerome, and then we'll close it out with you, Twon. Jerome.
Great. I took everything everybody was saying, and I think it's great that Twon and Yvonka had some very great comments, and it definitely plays the same part that I'm also thinking, or I also hope to see change too. I want to close off with this thing that's going on in the world right now that we're dealing with the riots and with the police and so forth. I think kind of what Yvonka was just saying about the riot and so forth. It probably needed to be done. I hate to say that, in a very strange, bizarre way, because I don't believe in riots and so forth. But it's making people stop and think. It's making people look at what's going on in the real world. And I think we finally we're going to make some changes. Some changes will come, and it's going to be some drastic changes. Maybe it's some changes that the cops and the people don't like to see, because in the city halls and the White House, but it's mostly for the majority of the people. And already they're firing cops, charging them with murders and so forth. They've never done that before out of the history of cops, as far as I know. They've never hit a cop and fired him on the spot for shooting a person. So with that all being said, with everybody saying on the panel, I definitely agree. We're going to see some changes. It's going to be some great changes. There's going to be some changes that we all probably never thought we'd ever see during our lifetime. And I hope that these changes are going to definitely, go down history, make everybody think twice about, going back out, these cops going back out on the street, thinking they can shoot and kill somebody because they feel they are above the law.
Absolutely. Yeah. Twon?
Well, just to, comment about the black on black crime. Number one, I never even heard any, white media promoting that. This, being from Los Angeles, this been said a long time ago from the streets. Me being a street guy, like I said, me being the founder of the largest gang in this state history, black on black crime is what I'm concerned about. I'm not concerned about what the white folks is doing. I'm concerned about what our people doing, who I live around, who I work with. That's who I'm concerned about. I'm not trying to play a comparison. I'm just trying to basically talk about our issues, because that's what's important, our issues. They pretty much got what they got going on, and they pretty much, support each other. They support each other from inside of the penitentiary. If a white young man come in the penitentiary, the white boys is gonna sit there and they're gonna give them food box, no matter if they got rape cases, no matter what. They're gonna take care of them. The Mexicans come in, they're gonna grab them up before they even hit the concrete of the penitentiary. So I know, seeing these things and experiencing these things, black on black crime is what I'm focused on. I don't care about what the media say. I don't care about what anybody else said. I understand the narrative because I was one of those people that was out there robbing people, shooting people, and doing all that foolishness. And now that I didn't change my life and became a man, I understand the roles and the responsibilities of being a man. And like I said, I do not agree with black on black crime. I'm not, if that was the case, then I'll be still out there in the streets doing dirt. I don't want to see that. So therefore, be an example, going out, talking to these young men and everything like that about the narrative and what can potentially happen being out there in the streets and everything like that. Those are things that you use to change, to take the leaders of these, you know, so-called gangs and groups and cliques and trying to take them and making them understand their responsibilities in the community so they can educate their young brothers and their young cousins and everything to be and to make a better society.
Yeah.
So basically that's what it just boils down to. We have to work together, and that's just at the end of the day, and not be focused on what another color or another race is doing. We got to get ourselves together because, like I said, at the end of the day, they make money up off our ignorance.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been a powerful conversation. I thank you guys for your civility, because we didn't all, you know, agree on everything that was said, but it was, you know, definitely good information regardless. And I appreciate that, you know, and all of you, I really, you know, thank you, you know, for bringing, you know, your worldview, your opinions, your personal experience, you know, to the table. And I think that's important, because the people that are watching this, some of them are seeing themselves in us, so they can take our messages back. Yvonka and Twon, do you have any events or anything coming up that we need to talk about? And, you know, and later get me your flyers and stuff so I can post them out there. Go ahead.
We have so on Fridays, we have a virtual meditation. It's called a midday meditation. So we're hopefully trying to get people to relax a little bit. And it's on Friday. It is virtual. Okay. So it's going to be on Facebook and on Zoom. But the person that's directing the midday meditation is a friend that I met when I was in Ghana last year. And she lives in Italy. So she is a Black woman who lives in Italy. So she's going to be doing the meditation with us on Friday. And it's free. And I know that my parents for my babies and brunch, that a lot of them are going to participate too. So I'm just trying to figure out some things that we can do virtually, since we can't be in spaces together.
Right.
That we can kind of help people to back away from some of the things, because a lot of people have a lot of things that are going on in their life. So hopefully this virtual thing, and we're going to still continue to do our virtual conversations. Okay. We just did one on policing policies and the people last Thursday. We have some coming up around infant mortality. We have some racism, mental health. I am a man, about Black men's mental health. And so we have quite a few that are coming up.
Okay, so yeah, so dump those flyers in the what's happening Facebook group, or either email them to me. You know, I'll get them so I can promote them out. Twon, what do you have coming up, or either your ongoing activities that people can plug into?
Well, I'm looking at basically after pretty much how would I say this? After a lot of stuff that's going on today, I'm actually changing my organization name. With a lot of things that's going on with Black men, as well the mergers of the Black women, changing the name to Violence Against Women to Violence Against Men and Women, and trying to get together with, you know, some, you know, mentally strong sisters, you know, that's willing to help conduct mediations and willing to put plans in place to help our culture. You know, I have a few women that have reached out to me, and pretty much, you know, they saying that they're willing to get together and do some things to try and help our culture from bickering amongst each other, you know, Black men and Black women, and therefore, you know, it kind of ease the tensions, you know, and you know, along with some friends of mine that's police officers, that's DJs. So we looking to try and reach out, you know, and do some powerful things, you know, with, I started a thing called Ohio Law Enforcement Collaborative with different police departments. And now that all this happened, I mean, it got shut down because of what happened with the corona. So now that this didn't happen and all this madness didn't happen, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what's the solution, the answers. You know, you can do a lot of public relations and everything like that, but, you know, I don't want to put a Band-Aid on the situation, like Yvonka said about the painting in the middle of the street. I mean, I love the painting. I mean, I do, but that's not going to change anything, in my opinion. I mean, I don't want to discourage the movement of the painting. I love that painting. I do. But I don't feel like that's, nor to be honest with you, even what I'm talking about doing, I don't think that that's going to be effective for what we need to do. I just believe that I wish to God that we can really all work together enough to have a group of the people that was down there at the protest, that we can all come together and try and, bridge the gap and do something productive and meaningful.
Right.
I guess that's what I think.
Agree.
So your CCW classes are on hold for now then too?
The concealed carry, I wasn't the one that was I train women on how to handle weapons. I bring it out to their house. I show them how to handle the weapons. I show them in different martial arts styles, and I teach them a defensive driving. I got 2 cars burnt out with transmissions. Well, actually 3 of them. So I'll probably call Yvonka and tell her to give me some of that good money, and just up in there, from the Health Coalition. But I really
nonprofit, sir.
You say what?
We are a non-funded nonprofit.
Right. How many debates, how they shut people like us down, like Yvonka educated me about, when you're doing God's work and everything like that, people is not going to support you when you quote unquote stepping on people's toes. And Audrey, thank you for giving us this platform.
Yes.
Because we talked yesterday, and people like, I spoke with Yvonka. I'm glad to meet the brother and everything. I want to talk to you more to get to know you. But I really appreciate this platform that you provided for us, because Yvonka, to me, is one of our she-rolls in the community, with, come on,
oh yeah, come on.
It's not supporting her. They're not supporting her movement, because they're not thinking of it. And whether you agree with her or whether you disagree with her, at the end of the day, Yvonka is a Black, educated Black woman. Okay?
Right.
It's just like Joy Kennedy that was over at my house yesterday. These women went to school and they became a somebody. You have to listen to them. Whether you agree or whether you disagree. You may not agree with them right now, but down the line and everything, these women is educated. And you have to respect you guys. And that's the reason why I do respect Black women. Don't get me wrong. I don't just only respect Black women, but I respect Black women because I'm a Black man. So I'll be honest with you, Yvonka, with all the things that you have done for our children, I don't know how in the world you do it. You know what I'm saying? But I'll tell you this, that really, Audrey, with both of you ladies, God has really showed that He has y'all back. So I would tell you guys, y'all keep on doing what you're doing. And bruh, I would like to get to know you better and everything like that. 2 Black men, 2 Black women. These 2 women is definitely queens. And I'm not just saying that because I know them. I'm saying that because I respect them. And I've seen a lot of things that they have done that's unique. I can't compete with Yvonka. And I can't compete with Audrey. So, I respect you guys. And like I said, Audrey, I really thank you for giving us this platform, because only God knows, people need to have a voice. And what Yvonka is doing, she's doing it grassroots. And we need to be educated about, letting our children. I personally don't know if that played in with my learning disability. I'm be honest with you, I'm just now learning about it. And I'm Jerome, I'm 50. And I still don't understand, you know what I'm saying, Jerome? I still don't understand a lot of things. So when you got somebody with a license and being a nurse, I think that sometimes, you gotta, when, the saying, if I tell you a duck can pull a truck, you shut the what up? That's where it comes from. When I, sometimes.
There's your beat, Jerome. Beat.
Right. So I made sure I kept it calm.
I have to use that one. I never heard that one before.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that. I'm gonna have to use that one too, because we were on that phone last night. I was saying some words.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. Because I call Yvonka and keep her butt up at about 11 o'clock. So,
oh, good.
Yeah, you ain't the only one. Yvonka tell you. Yvonka already told one of the women and Mothers Against You Violence, Twon be keeping me up to 11 o'clock in the night. Oh yeah.
And you know what? But I think that is kind of cool though, that you even feel comfortable, you know, to call her or to call me, you know, sit up and, you know, we just be going on and on, you know, about, you know, but what you're feeling, you know, things that you believe in, and because you can't unload yourself on everybody, you know, because people can't be trusted sometimes with your innermost feelings like that, you know.
Well, that's the reason why, you know, Jerome, and you could check me as if I'm wrong. As Black men, we carry a lot on our shoulders, and not,
Definitely.
Saying that Black women don't. I'll be honest with you, as a Black man, as the founder of the Crip gang here in Ohio, I'm not gonna lie to you. When although I'm a law enforcement trainer and everything, you would think that in a little small sense, you have a little past. My reality check came into 2019 when I got pulled over in Highland Hills. You know, and sometime, there, Yvonka, I was wondering where she went. Sometime, the reality check happened. We scared. You know, it's not a cool thing to say that you're scared, but we scared. You know, you don't want to die like that. You know, like how that man, it really hurts to watch and think about that man called out his mama's name. You know, and that man just sat on, he knew he was going to kill him. He sat there, and that man had to be in what'd you say, Jerome and Yvonka? He had to be at least 190 pounds?
Who, the guy that was on the ground?
The police officer that was on his neck.
The cop. At least a good 190.
So, you know, he on his neck for all that time. And can you just, a white man taught me act as if. And that really mentally messed with me as a Black man, and so many other things that's, I just put a post up on Facebook where they was hanging a 3-year-old because his father didn't do what what they wanted him to do. And, I'll be honest with you, there's some problems, but I would say this, and I'm gonna shut my mouth from this point. As a Black man, I'm not afraid to die for what I believe in, okay? I had the pleasure of talking to Bobby Seale from the Black Panther Party. I'm at the age of 50 years old, and I am so tired. I know, Yvonka, and out of respect for you, I'm not going to say this no more about the Black on Black crime. But I'm going to say with some of our brothers and sisters, and I'm serious out of respect for you, Yvonka, I'm not going to say it. But for the for the individuals that rent the skin color that we wear and the demonic things that we do to each other and to hurt each other. In East Cleveland, Jerome, they put a dump in East Cleveland that was behind a 100 and some odd year old lady's house. This type of stuff really bothers me. Like I said, while I'm sitting here doing this interview with you guys, this paper was dropped in my door. I don't want to see this Jim Crow, Willie Lynch stuff. I don't want to see that evil. We got too much going on. Why keep out here doing things like that to each other? We're not winning out here. Like I said, that's the reason why I respect you, because despite of all the things, Yvonka, that has been done to you to hold you down, you said, I'll be damned if I let these people stop me. So the strength of a Black woman, the strength, Jerome, as a Black man, a real Black man, they're going to beat the hell out of us to stop us from doing what we need to do.
I believe it.
And that's something that we got to watch our backs for the same people that wear the same skin color. That's where my frustration at. That's what hurts me. I'm tired. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Black on Black crime, I would look at that the same way, Jerome. I mean, just think, I'm an African-American agency that looks at African-American disparities. I speak all over the country around African-Americans. Where does my funding come from? 98% comes from white folks. Like, my funding comes from people who aren't here in the city that I'm in, because the city that I'm in refuses to acknowledge the work that I do, no matter how many awards I receive, whether it's national, they refuse to acknowledge the stuff that I do. But now, mind you, you won't acknowledge what I'll do, but you'll steal it. So we are in a community that for me, my mantra is, speak up, show up, stand up, or shut up. And I'm willing to do it all.
And that's the problem with majority of the minorities, of blacks. I can say this because I'm black. I don't think they support each other as much, because you can look down the history. Once again, when I go down the history road, Jews, whites, and Hispanics, and so forth, the list goes on. That's one of my favorite sayings. They all seem to support each other. When they come from overseas, they help each other get the new stores, the shops, and so forth. They teach each other how to do this. I have a friend of mine I know years ago. His father owned a couple of some type of clothing store of some nature, and he taught his son taught the other kids, and his father taught him, and it's been in a generation, and they taught each other how to become a successful own your own store, clothing store. Now the thing with that is they came from across here on a boat, as the story was told to me. The grandfather came on a boat. The father was
immigrants.
Huh?
Immigrants.
Immigrants, yeah. Well, immigrants too, yeah.
Start with us, of course.
Yeah. And they taught, and they came from with nothing, and they taught each other and taught the families and taught each other who came across on the boat, the immigrants, the political way of saying it. Thank you. And that's the problem we're having with blacks. They don't teach each other the tools to go forward. They learn the tools themselves and keep it to themselves, and then they move forward themselves instead of bringing the rest of the group behind them. And that's something that blacks need to work on a little bit more, on teaching each other and teaching a group how to become successful people, instead of running the streets at night, instead of doing everything you have no business out there on the streets doing. And as a black man myself, I have not been shown or even taught how to do a lot of things until I have to learn on my own, because that's something that you just don't learn in school. You don't learn by your parents. You don't learn anywhere else but on the streets, on how to become a successful person, if there's no one teaching you how to do the things that you need to do to become a successful person. And with Twon and Yvonka, you two sound like you got the great tools to teach others how to become what they need to become going forward in their career or in their life, because right now it's a mess out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I just, I would ask Yvonka, is there any thing that in your repertoire to help black men with suicidal thoughts with because I'm talking to a few people that black men, because of a lot of things is going on, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to weigh it in and say that black men is going through more than black women, Jerome. I don't know. I don't even want to get into the comparison thing.
I'm sure they got their fair share.
Yeah. So, Yvonka, is it anything that you have thought of, or even for black men that could potentially, snap like that and end up, taking their life? Because a lot of black men is, one or two, contemplating it, thought about it, or did it.
Stay tuned for part 2 of our conversation to hear Yvonka Hall's response to Twon Billings on black men and suicide. To sponsor or appear on this or any of our web shows, contact studio at mwmg.tv. That's studio at mwmg.tv.